Hello everybody, welcome back to Space Engineers, where today we're going to be having a look at targeting or lock-on or whatever kind of missiles you want to call them. Essentially, you have a missile and when it gets within a 600 meter radius of an enemy, it locks onto them, and if you have a explosive payload, shall we say, it can be quite devastating to them. Now, these designs, this design specifically here is mine. These ones are modified versions of this design, and this design I'll leave a link in the description of a tutorial where I actually got this from. You'll notice this one uses a rocket launcher, where my ones don't. They don't have any rockets. They use a camera, because you can use a camera or you can use a gun to target using the targeting block controller. So that video will be essentially a tutorial to show how to build that specific one. However, in this video I'm going to first tell you how these missiles actually work, and of course I'll actually shoot them at a target. It happens to be one of my ships I've just turned into an enemy. So, let's get started. Before we start today's video, may I just say thank you to everyone who subscribed in my last video. It means so much to me and I appreciate you lots. You may have noticed in the last video I said everyone please subscribe, let's see if we can hit 100 subs by the end of the month. It has been one day and I'm already on 120. You guys are nuts. Like seriously nuts. Anyway, on to the video. Okay, so missiles are pretty simple things, I'd say. Essentially, the trick is you're using the custom turret controller, and you're looking at rotors with gyros on an override. Now, I'd like to make it clear that it's not a rotor on the block with a rotor head connected to the gyro. It's actually the rotor heads attached to the block, and the gyros attached to the rotor onto the rotor head. If that makes any sense. So essentially, you don't want to. Oh, come on. What block am I making? Essentially, I've just pushed out. Don't like space. Space has no gravity. You don't want to do that and then add a block to it like that. So that is not what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to have it so it's there we go. Come here. If I do that, I put a block under that, and I put a gyro on here like that. So can you see the difference? So essentially, this is not what you want, this is what you want. And that basically, the reason for this is essentially when the gyro is on override, it turns this, which in turn turns the entire vehicle. Other way just doesn't work. It's as simple as. So to be able to actually put these on, when you actually build a missile, you'll put your blocks you'll put essentially your rotors like this pattern. So you have one rotor which goes up and down, and one that goes left and right. You don't want a rotor like that. So you don't want any twisting, because it's just a pointless thing. You don't need it. And then what you want to do is you want to get a rotor like that, remove the head off it. You want to, I really need to sort out my inventory. You want to put that onto that, a gyro onto the end of it, and then you want to get a control panel. Control panels don't have a hitbox, so you don't need to worry about it. And in the control panel, you want to select gyroscope and click override controls on. And that is literally all you got to do there. Then you want to, in some way, be able to grab this part here. So I've just got a simple little spacecraft with thrust in all directions. Really simple little vehicle. You can easily make it if you're in space. In gravity, you might just have to have an atmospheric little ship. Either way, not too complicated. You want to align it roughly up so it's on the head. Go to your rotor and click attach. And from there, you'll be attached. So then you can just go into here, unlock, and push back. And if I delete that, let's make it look nice, because like that. And essentially you'd have that on the top here as well. Now if you look at something like this, this is a bigger version of literally what I'm just showing off here, with an integrated battery, the integrated controller, and I can show you this actually working. Because I've just realised I haven't actually done that yet. Right. So if I set this, so if I go to the control panel and I set this to an actual AI, you'll notice it won't target that. No, that also doesn't target that. But if I turn this into an enemy, you'll see that one's locking on. And this one isn't because I locked these rotors. I've worked out what it's the issue. I want to turn the, so you want to also make sure that the velocities are up as fast as they can go. So the heavier your vehicle, the more you need to spin a gyroscope to actually add any counter forces. As you can see, it's actually targeted roughly on it, and this one again targeted on it. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to talk, so that's essentially how it works. You could put that into a core of literally any vehicle and it will look at an enemy all the time. Now, how these missiles work is it uses that same thing in a compact. So this one, you may think these two are smaller than that one. However, this one's an actual 3x3, these are 4x4s. If you look, you can see how it's got thrusters sticking out. Makes it a 4x4, where this one is, if I removed that, it would be a 3x3. So this is actually a smaller missile, even though it overall looks bigger. Essentially, missile has overriding thrusters. Missile flies in general direction of, you know what? I'm going to show you in a very high-tech application how these missiles work. Give me a second. Alright, so here is my amazing high-tech application, as I said. So, imagine you have your enemy ship. So let's say you have, this is your enemy ship right here, right? Beautiful, nice red enemy ship. And you have your own green ship. Yeah, we're gonna be over here. Let's say this is our ship. Yep. And around the enemy. Okay, so let's say this is. If I do that. This range from the actual enemy is the 600 meters. Okay, so this is 600 meters around the enemy. You can see I'm well out of that range. So if I fired a missile from my ship, so let's say it's blue. So if I fired a missile out there, and it goes, let's say it goes through here. As soon as it gets within this 600 meters range, it's going to beeline it straight to the enemy. Doesn't matter if you're accurate or not, and it doesn't matter if you're out of that 600 meters range. Because essentially, what you could do is you could be here. You could be here, and then you could fire your rockets forward, and they'll just curve and still lock onto the enemy. All I'm saying is, as you just have to be somewhat accurate, because you could fire your rocket over here, and it goes over here, and as you can see, it's not within the 600 meters range, and so it will never hit. So it has some issues. However, you know, it's pretty good. And I think that is one of the best execution PowerPoint presentations. You know what? I should do a PowerPoint presentation next of how you do something. Right. Okay, back to the video. Now you've seen that, you can sort of see how it works. So essentially what that was me saying is, as long as your missile is within, when you fire it, within the 600 meter radius, and I'm getting this 600 meter radius, I don't know if I've told you, from the range that this has an 600 meter aiming radius. So if I had my ship here and I fired my missile off in that general direction, it would fly, it would fly, it would fly. You can see, and once it's within that range, it'll go crash into it. Okay, very simple. And I think that's enough talking and more showing you how it actually works. So I didn't mention, but on this thing you could just add some thrusters and yeah. Alright, so essentially, yeah, the whole point of this is it flies at supersonic speed, crumples that, hits one of those and explodes. On my bigger design, I've made the front armoured, so all of this is heavy armour and blast door blocks. And you can notice here a little highlighted box. Now that's because I have a sensor right in the back which senses large grids and stations. So essentially, if a large grid or station goes into that area, the whole missile detonates. And so far that hasn't really had an issue. I might increase the range to sort of like all of this area and stick it out a little bit more in front, but so far it's been pretty good. And then the back thrusters are just toggled off, set with an override to maximum. And essentially, you know what? Yeah, like I said, enough talking. That is enough talking for me. So I'm gonna purposely make it so this missile will miss. Okay? So this missile, as you can see, if I set it to override, it will just go straight and it will miss. If I remove the antenna and I set the... you need to make sure that your AI is also toggled on. Make sure your warheads are armed. You should be able to toggle on the main thrust. It will blast off. I'll go into spectator cam so we can get a good view. You'll see it zooms off to the enemy. And it turns to the enemy. Yep. So it's got within the 600 meter radius. And it should absolutely detonate. No, because it went sideways. God damn it. As soon as it gets within the 600 meter radius, it will lock on. And it'll go barreling towards the enemy at supersonic speed, where it should go kaboom. It missed. How did you miss? You missed a standing target. And it hits the target. Alright. There you go. And it causes catastrophic damage to a thruster or whatever your thing you're targeting at is. And of course you could do these as a swarm. So let's have a nice swarm attack. So all these missiles are coming in. If anything, having this X-ray on allows you to see the missile a little bit clearer. Now the tracking is pretty bad for the size. However, a static station or a bigger, heavier ship would
do a lot better in a situation like this, but you can see they'll still
track it as long as they don't get shot down. They'll never give up. And kaboom! How did that missile survive? I have no idea. And another one. And you didn't even explode. I don't think you exploded because you're missing your entire explosive part. So the one downside to a swarm is you want to make sure they're staggered enough, otherwise they might explode each other's warheads without actually fully destroying them. But you can see the overall picture. You can see the damage you can do and the long range capabilities of. You probably don't want to make your missiles out of heavy armor. A light armor or more gyroscopes. So there's not. Actually, no, there is something. Yeah, you just want to have a light armor missile, really. To just cut down the weights. It means it's a bit more agile and it means it'll track to the enemy a little bit better. But as you can see, they're not terrible. And in a big swarm, they could either be a distraction. You could just. There's no saying you have to have them. Have actual warheads on them. You could make them really armoured, and you could put decoy blocks on, and you launch them out like flares. Who knows? You can do whatever you feel like, but that's just a cool thing you can do with the block. Instead of making a turret, you can control gyros and rotors to be able to turn a grid to an enemy. That's essentially what I'm getting at on this video. But if you enjoyed today's video, please consider giving me a like and subscribing to the channel if you're new, as you will help me out immensely with the YouTube algorithm basically just, suggesting my video to more and more people. So I can help even more people out who are either new to Space Engineers or just want to have just get bits of information here and there. Anyway, my name is Being Quantum Chief, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!